Hey everyone, to those of you who are attending and those of you who are on your way here, maybe you're going to show up a little bit late. That's totally cool. Or maybe you're watching the recording because the time didn't work out for you. And that is totally fine as well. That is why I offer the recording. So this webinar, in case you're unaware, is all about email tips and strategies. It is how you can grow your email list and use it to grow your business, because email lists are great, but only if we actually use them and only if they can actually help us achieve our business goals. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and get right into it. First of all, I know Mary's going to back me up here about is email dead? Because she and I both hear this all the time. Is blogging dead? No, but that's a topic for a different presentation. Here we're talking about email. We do still tend to hear that email is dead, which is insane because we are all heard that back in 2004. Mary says she heard that back in 2004 that email was dead. That is insane. And here we are almost 20 years later. Email is very much alive and kicking. Everyone checks their email at least 15 times a day. I was just in another meeting where some guy was saying that every phone call that comes through his website gets set up as an email for him. So he gets the email as well as the phone call. And for that, that's true for a lot of us, that we are constantly checking our emails. I do not have it set up where my phone alerts me every time I get an email because I found that super annoying. But a lot of people do have that set up, which means every time you email them, they are getting that alert on their phone. So yes, you should absolutely be emailing people. The inbox is the last place left where people can invite you in. We are getting, admittedly, we do have a couple ads in our email, in our inbox. Honestly, I don't even see those. I think I just automatically skim right over them and get onto the stuff that I actually subscribed for. But there is, on social media, we have people bombarding us. We have people slipping into our DMs that we don't want there. We have ads all over the place. The inbox is the last place where people go, yes, I want you in my inbox. Yes, please give me more information about such and such. So you are not bothering them when you email them. When you send your newsletter. By the way, for those of you watching the recording, you didn't hear my little thing beforehand about how I'm still getting over a cold and still coughing. So I apologize if I break into coughing or if I have to mute myself. But getting back to my point, the inbox is the last place left where people invite you in. So you are not bothering them when you send a newsletter. They said they want to hear from you. That's like saying, like, if you're on a date and someone gives you their phone number and you never call them because you don't want to bother them. And they're sitting at home going, why did they never call me? That's like that when someone subscribes to your newsletter and you never send them a newsletter. It's also the only place where you can customize what each recipient sees based on who they are, where they are, how they got onto your email list. There are a bunch of ways we can manage that. I'll talk about that a little bit later. In the meantime, I do want to talk a little bit about who I am, why the heck you should care what I have to say. I always wanted to be a writer. Never even knew email marketing was a thing. I'm not sure it was a thing when I was growing up. The internet was still dial up when I was growing up, right? So this is a very new thing. Yeah, no, once or twice a month, Karen, I would say is the minimum. Karen just said she sends newsletters once or twice a month. I think if you're sending them any less than that, people are going to forget that they subscribe. They're going to be like, who's Karen? Why is she sending me this? So at a minimum once, preferably twice a month. Yeah, I send mine out every week and I never get complaints. So yeah, so I always wanted to be a writer, was told writers don't make any money and I should choose a more practical career. So I was like, well, if I can't make a living writing books, maybe I can make a living making books. I can go into publishing. So I ended up majoring in English and psychology, which turned out to be the perfect degree for what I'm doing now. Go figure. Had no clue this was an option. Like I said, thought I wanted to work in publishing. Went ahead and graduated in 2009, right after the job market crashed. So there were no jobs to be had in publishing or really anywhere else. So answered phones for a few years. It was a job. It was not a career. Ended up between jobs at one point, and my roommate at the time, her dad, who was an attorney, was awesome and offered to give me stuff to do around his office until I got back on my feet. And one of the things he needed was someone to write blog posts for his law firm. And he knew I had a strong writing background, so he offered me the gig. And I was like, what? I can get paid to write? Seriously? Yeah, sign me up. So I went ahead and started writing blog posts for him, and then for an associate of his, and then for some friends of mine. And it just kind of grew from there. And then as I was really successful, made a lot of money for that first client of mine just through the blog posts I was writing for him. But as I started doing this more professionally, I realized there's all kinds of marketing content that people need, not just their blog posts, but also their website landing pages, their press releases, and their emails. Emails are a big thing. I hear a lot of the same things and questions around email marketing that I hear around blogging, as in not knowing when is the best time to send, not knowing how often they should be sending. And by the way, the general recommendation is that you should be blogging every day. The people who blog every day are seeing the best results SEO wise. I realize that if you're a solopreneur like me, that's not realistic. I'm not saying you have to blog every day. I'm just saying that is a distinct difference between blogging versus email. As I really don't recommend sending out an email every day. I think once a week is a good number. Every other week for sure is a good number. So something to keep in mind. So, and again, people were putting out emails and not getting any responses, not getting results in their business, and they didn't understand why. So I was able to look at how to get more people onto their newsletter, as well as, okay, how can we make sure these emails are effective? People signed up because they want information from you. They want to know what you're up to. So how can we make sure to deliver that while leading them through the funnel? So at the end of the day, when they are ready to buy, they'll buy from you. They'll become a customer. So first and foremost, the most important piece of content you will ever create is your headline. If you are writing a blog post, it's the title of your blog post. If you are writing an email, it's that subject line. That determines whether or not someone will open your email. And actually, I don't know if any of you are DSW followers. I do get multiple emails a day from DSW. And yes, it's a lot. And yes, I delete most of them, but they are on point, you guys, with some of their headlines talking about how cute these are and how these are the boots of the season. And we have something special just for Allison. It's not always going to get me to buy, but a lot of them do get me to open just to look, just to window shop, because their headlines are on point. So optimize your headline. This can take some work. Always get your keywords in there, which again kind of leads into my third point of making a promise and actually keeping it, right? Just like you want that great social media headline or blog post headline to be clickable, your headline for your email needs to tell people what it's about, right? So if it's about email marketing, for example, or blogging tips, then Mary Lou Wu is the LinkedIn Whisperer. So if you want to talk about the latest LinkedIn changing their algorithm, then she should absolutely put that in her headline, because that is something that a lot of people are talking about and want more information on. So that would probably be a great keyword. So keywords are great, but they're just the first point. You also have to make an emotional point, right? So like in the headline of this presentation, I talked about how you can use emails to grow your business, right? Because what business owner doesn't want to grow their business, right? So that is the emotional component. This is the result you're going to get. This is the kind of information that you can expect to get from, again, presentation, headline. These tips work for everything, but they are super important for your emails, because again, people are just going to delete, send it straight to the trash bin if the headline does not grab their attention. Let them know what you're talking about and why they should care. That last part is super important, and yet it gets skipped over all the time. Why should they care? Just because you know how important it is does not mean they automatically know how important it is. Sometimes you got to spell it out for them. So what are the results they can expect from this? Again, email, presentation, blog post, whatever it might be. Keep it short. Keep in mind that especially since most of us are, again, checking email. I talked earlier about how a lot of people are checking email on their phones, right? And they might get a notification on their phone. More and more people are checking their emails on their phone. I check my email on my phone all the time, right? So the screen is like this big. You've got this much space to tell me what this is about. So that's a few words. Don't make it super long. Keep it short so people can actually read the entire piece of the headline, so that they actually know what you're talking about and what to expect in that email. The That's also why I always put the keywords in the beginning of my headline, because if it does get cut off at the end, if it gets a little long, at the very least, they can see the keywords at the beginning. That gives them an idea of what it's about. And then if they're interested in that topic, they can either hover over it before opening it to see the full headline, or they can click through and see the full headline and open it. So that's something to keep in mind is to keep it short. All right. The dreaded how to get people on your email list. There are actually a lot of ways to get people on your email list. You can have a lead magnet that lives really anywhere. Most commonly, it's on your website. It's usually a pop-up that pops up and says, hey, do you want this bit of information? I know we all hate pop-ups as users. I do this on my website where it does not pop up until their cursor hovers over the browser, which usually means they're about to click away. So it's not interrupting their use of the website. It's not until they're about to leave the website that they get that pop-up that says, hey, by the way, if you're interested in such and such, here's, go here, fill out your email information and you'll get an email to this document. Make sure the lead magnet can be anything. Checklists are really great. You can even make it a super short ebook. If you have a book that is super short, full of value, tells people who you are, what you do. If you want to just give that away, that is a great lead magnet. So absolutely. If you have any like worksheets or journals that go along with what you're doing, those could be great lead magnets. So get creative with what your lead magnet is. And then you can have a drip campaign. I have a specific set of emails that people get after they get my lead magnet, before they then go into my newsletter. So that is a great way. Ask for referrals, ask for people to share your newsletter. That's another great way to get people on your newsletter. If people are saying, hey, this person has great stuff, you should sign up for their newsletter, then that is an automatic win, because then people are going to be so much more likely to sign up for your newsletter if someone they already know, like, and trust is saying that you've got great content and they should get on board. Share it on social media, right? Don't just build it and assume that people will come. You got to spread the word. So again, lead magnet, ask for referrals, sharing on social media, have it as a call to action. I talk about this a lot with blogging because a lot of people will write a blog and then go, hey, reach out for a consultation. Buy my stuff. If depending on the kind of content you produce and the business you're in, people are not always ready to buy or sign up for a consultation after reading one or two blog posts. It's usually a longer buyer journey, especially if you're in the B2B space. I'm in the B2B space. A lot of my clients are in, Kevin is here. So he's a lawyer. So he knows that it's technically B2C, but it works a lot like a B2B business in that there's a longer buyer journey. Sometimes you have multiple people making that buying decision. You got to get that buy-in before people are going to invest their money with you. So instead of going straight to, hey, let's talk about, me selling you stuff, talk about getting on your newsletter. Talk about, hey, if this information resonated with you and it was relevant to you and you want more like it, you can sign up for our newsletter and make sure you get more like this every week, every other week, however often it makes sense for you. Having a contest or a giveaway is a great way to get people engaged. Make your sign up form short. If they only have to put in their email address, maybe their name, that's great. They're going to be that much more likely to sign up for your newsletter rather than fill out these 15 questions. They're going to go, yeah, okay, no thanks. That will get you a lot of information as to who is signing up for your newsletter, and you'll get to know more about them. But you're going to have a much shorter list, because the harder you make it, the more steps you give people to get something, the less likely they're going to be to get something, especially if it's something free like a newsletter where they go, yeah, never mind, I don't actually care this much. And then have it as part of your calendar link. I mean, every one of you who registered for this had a little checkbox of, if you want to sign up for my newsletter and you're not already signed up, can I sign you up for that? So I have gotten, not only for this webinar, but every one-to-one, every exploratory meeting, every virtual coffee chat that I have, it's on there on my calendar. So I have gotten a fair number of newsletter subscribers that way. So it can help to sometimes think about those things that are a little outside of the box. What to put in your newsletter. These are just some ideas. This is by no means a comprehensive list, but it is a few things you can think about. Blog posts, I am going to stress just because that is my go-to, right? People always think they need to, come up with an idea for a blog post, write up the blog post, and then come up with something different to put in their newsletter. You don't. You can absolutely repurpose that blog post, put a little teaser to the blog post in the newsletter with a link to the blog post. So if they want to read more, they can click back to your website. So I always use that. You can also put YouTube videos in there. YouTube, not YouTube specifically, but any newsletter that has a video in it is significantly more likely to get opened compared to a newsletter that does not have a video in it. So absolutely take advantage of videos, gift guides, how-to guides, industry updates. What's new in your industry lately? Mary Wu, what's new over on LinkedIn these days? I'm picking on Mary because I know there's a big kerfuffle over on LinkedIn. So introduce a referral program. Gift guides are great, obviously, especially during the holiday season, but all the new things, says Mary. Yes, there's a lot going on over at LinkedIn right now. Gift guides are great during the holiday season, but they don't have to just be during the holiday season. People have birthdays all year long. There's Mother's Day, there's Father's Day, there's college graduation, right? All of these things that we can, we need to buy people gifts for. So gift guides, again, especially during the holidays, but not exclusively during the holidays. Again, use referrals. So have a referral program, host a giveaway, give people something for free if they refer people to your newsletter. Case studies and testimonials, event invitations, event recaps. Those are always fun, right? Because maybe you wanted to invite someone, or maybe you were inviting someone to an in-person event and they are not in that geographical area, so they couldn't make it. So give them a recap, make them feel like they were there. FAQs, those frequently asked questions, the questions you hear all the time, are great fodder for marketing content, blog posts, but also your newsletter. Holiday greetings. And again, this is not just like Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa. This is Valentine's Day. This is 4th of July. This is Sprinkles Day. I'm in Chicago, so we have Deep Dish Pizza Day. I don't know if you knew that was a thing, but that's a thing. We have National Deep Dish Pizza Day. So get creative with the holidays. Celebrate all of the holidays. Star Wars Day is another one. Mary Wu says pizza. Share recommendations. Oh, and inspirational quotes are always great. I don't recommend going overboard on the inspirational quotes because that can be, it can just blur into the background after a while because lots of people share inspirational quotes, but if they're really specific or if they're funny, that can be another great way to get people's attention, is if it's something that's a little outside of the box, something they don't see a lot. But that's another great way to, again, come up with content to put in front of people, keep yourself top of mind. Oh, now it doesn't want to. There we go. Okay. Okay, the big question, when should you send your newsletter? 1 to 4 times per month. I think any more than once a week and you're pushing it, but definitely no less than once a month, because like I said, less than that, people are going to forget who you are, what you do, why they signed up for this. Best times. So the general recommendation is that Tuesdays and Thursdays are best, around midday, around lunchtime, but track your data, because not everyone's audience is going to follow the general recommendations. So for example, I used to send mine out Tuesday morning, which was considered one of the best days to send out a newsletter. And I looked at my data and I noticed that most of my newsletters were getting opened on Wednesday morning. So I switched my newsletter and I started sending it out Wednesday instead of Tuesday, and I send it a little bit later. I send it now at like 8:30 instead of 7:30, and my open rate went up. So track your data, because that can tell you what your audience wants, regardless of what the general recommendations say. You can also personalize sending times. This might vary depending on your email marketing provider. I use MailChimp. You do have to pay for that. So there is a free level of MailChimp. The free level of MailChimp will not let you personalize sending times. You have to pay more to get to that point. But if you want everyone to get their newsletter at 8 a.m. their time, as an example, or 9 a.m. or whenever, you can do that. You can absolutely make sure that they all get it at a specific time in their time zone. and be consistent, right? Again, it doesn't, as long as you're in that 1 to 4 month range, it doesn't matter which one you choose, as long as you stick with it and you consistently send it once a month, twice a month, 4 times a month, whatever. Mary Wu says consistency is the hardest thing. It probably is, but it is also the most important thing when it comes to marketing. And again, this is true of emails, social media, blogging. Consistency is the most important thing. So pick a time and be consistent with it. And again, the benefit to using things like MailChimp is you can schedule ahead of time. I always write up my email and schedule it at least a day or two before it actually goes out. So you don't always have to be glued to your computer at a specific time and date. Segment your audience. So like I said, I do email marketing, blogging, SEO, and content strategy over there. So I can break it up so that if someone is, let's say, reading a blog post about email marketing, or if they attended this newsletter and they say, yes, actually, I do want to get updates from Allison, sign me up. I can make sure that they only get emails from me that are about email marketing. Same goes for blogging, same goes for SEO, same goes for content strategy. I don't think there's a limit. Again, if you're paying for your newsletter, it might depend on, you might have a limit as to how many different audiences you can have. But, and again, that usually requires that you pay them. That's not usually going to go with the free subscription. But again, this is going to help you make sure that you are not sending them content that they don't care about, that bores them and turns them off. Because if they expressed an interest in one specific thing that you do, and you only let them know when you have content or an event related to that specific thing, then they're going to be that much more likely to actually open the email, engage with the content, take the next step in the buyer journey. So segmenting your audience is an awesome way to keep people engaged. The dreaded unsubscribes. No one likes to think about unsubscribing. I have heard people say that they take it very personally when someone unsubscribes from their newsletter. Mary says she likes unsubscribes. Yeah, they're good. So first and foremost, to avoid unsubscribes, follow the advice in this presentation, provide value to your audience. Keep your promos to 20% or less of the emails that you send out. You should always be providing value first and foremost. And then if you have a new product or service that you're just launching, absolutely let people know about that. That should never be the only reason you're reaching out to them. There should always be something fun, something informational, something that provides value, and you're going to be less likely to get those unsubscribes. And again, keep track of your data. When are they opening your newsletter? Because if you can adjust when you're sending it to when they're opening it, not only are you going to get fewer unsubscribes, but again, you're going to get a higher open rate, more people engaging with that content. But yeah, last but certainly not least is just let it go. If someone's been on your newsletter for a while, yeah, Karen says occasionally someone surprises her when they unsubscribe, but that just means they're not interested in your product or service. Or maybe they want to connect with Karen on Facebook and keep touch with her as a person, but they're never going to buy from her. That's okay. Then you have a smaller email list to worry about. And again, when you're worrying about MailChimp or something, if you are getting paid or if you are paying them based on how many subscribers you have, then by people leaving your list, that helps you manage that list. So don't take it personally when people unsubscribe. That's just their way of saying, hey, no thanks. And actually, there are a number of people who will occasionally reach out to emails that have never opened a newsletter or haven't opened it in like 6 months or a year or something. You can send an email just to that person and say, hey, just noticed that you haven't opened my newsletter in a while. Are you still interested? If not, we'll just take you off the list. And if you don't respond, we're just going to take you off the list. Because that email, they might not be checking that email anymore. Or you may have ended up in their spam folder and you're just constantly spamming them without realizing it. A whole bunch of things could happen where they're not even seeing your email anymore. So you might as well just take them off the list and keep your list really tight and clean. So you are only sending content to people who are interested. And speaking of promotions, I am going to be a little promotional right now and talk up myself a little bit, or rather let my clients talk me up. Andrew Harrison has said that I made what would otherwise have been a tedious process easy and pleasant. I now have content that I can proudly associate with my business, and it fraction of the time it would have taken me to write it myself. I do want to remind everyone that I do write blog posts, but I do also write emails. So if this is something you are dreading every week, every month, every other week, maybe give me a call. Anatoly said that I share value at a maximal level. He was blessed to have me on his podcast because of my unique writing methods and storytelling style. You want high quality copy that brings in traffic and sales, don't hesitate to reach out. And finally, the lovely Linda Lamb said that I understand just what she needed for her content and exceeded her expectations in every way. And that is everything I have for you. This is the QR code will take you to my calendar so that we can chat more if this resonated with you, if you are interested in learning more. Otherwise, if you have questions now is the time to ask them. As I sip my water so I don't cough. All right, well, if no one has any questions, we can just go ahead and end. I am going to stop the recording. So thank you for those of you watching the recording. And you have the QR code, so you can go ahead and scan that to schedule a meeting with me if that's something you're interested in. Otherwise, thanks so much, everyone.